The second strategy will be multi-body. Multi-body and top-down require a little bit of work on the front end, and the payoff is to have something that maybe goes a little quicker overall. And so if we were to do this quarter cut all the way through the part, we're going to want this L shape, the little rectangular shape for the gasket, and a little rectangular shape for the cover. So like normal, we'll go into our millimeter part, and we'll follow the same basic process, but the mindset is that we're creating all three of those parts in this one part file. So on the front, and usually I'll treat this as a layout sketch or an envelope, just kind of depends on the geometry, and what I'm looking for is a single point of failure. If there's a problem with a dimension or something that has to be adjusted or changed, I want to do it in this one sketch. So we're going for the, eventually we'll go for the revolves and vertical infinite length. So we can place that, and then I'll hit the escape, L or S key on the keyboard. I'm going to stay with the whole wizard, and in the next one we'll include the calculations to have the thread with the revolve. So with the whole wizard we get a very similar set of data as if we were to model the threads directly. Alright, so I'm going to try to create just the regions. I'm going to avoid too much overlap. We have one region, two regions, three regions. I could share this one sketch, but from a functionality standpoint, I would rather convert these entities and make it very apparent on the front end that I built this with the multi-body. All right, so that's a little bit bigger than what we wanted. Double check. I think we're at the 100 millimeter, and then the 60 millimeter on the interior. And that should be good if the rest of the relations are hanging in there. So by having these as individual line geometries, should make it a little bit easier, and not too much, and hopefully they don't flip-flop that much. All right, so that one got a little thin, but we can go up to 3. That moves everything up a little bit, and then that will go to 13. All right, and then the base was 20. So we go ahead and put that in. And I want to kind of group these up when I'm going through and creating the bodies. And any of the geometries that we would want to use get tied in to that solid body specifically. So if this is my layout, then the next would be looking at, if I rotate over, maybe going into the top view and opening a sketch. I didn't really want it to rotate over. And we can start setting up. If I go to the S key and the circle, make sure that that is for construction. And we'll apply. I'm not sure that I need anything more than the whole location, so I'm going to generate these points. And our bolt circle is 75. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And if we want to start at the top, let's go ahead and find the sketch tool. Not seeing it, it may not be in that group, so we'll go back to sketch. I know I can locate it there, and I think it's in the sketch entities as well, so I could have hit the right mouse button. Alright, so that ended up at a quadrant. It inferred the vertical and the coincident. And then we'll go ahead with, underneath the linear sketch, the circular sketch pattern, and we have a total of 8. So once those points are put in, then we can drag one off, and there I saw the horizontal, the coincident, and the pattern. If I didn't get one of the quadrants, it would have gone coincident, but I would have to have taken any of the others and done the same thing, drag it off a little bit, and then make it coincident back to the bolt circle. So this is a single click and a single click again to get it to a point of rename, and this will be the whole location. Alright, so now we're ready to actually build our components, our parts. So on the front plane, we'll open up a sketch, and we'll start off with a convert. If I can select, control select, and I want to rotate over and make sure I'm not getting that circle. If I go to the S key, then we have convert entities, which is the same as coming up to the sketch and convert entities. Or let's see on the right. Not seeing it. Must be under sketch tools. So convert entity under sketch tools. So again, if you have a preference, start working with it, utilizing it, and building it out. So I can convert the center line as well, so more for reference. I don't believe I can pick it as part of the revolve, so we'll try. And since it's in another sketch, it did find it. So it found line 1 at layout. If it didn't select, then I would have gone to the sketch entity that was attached. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And I want to think in terms of all of the geometry that I would need in this this part. So we'll go ahead and put in the M20 by 3. Get the whole wizard. I said M24 by 3. So my last remembered is handy there. Go ahead and position it at the origin. And go ahead and accept. For the top, then we'll go to the S key, the whole wizard, and we're looking now for the M8 by 1.25. So we'll scroll down, and then scroll down. Has an up to next. That's a little much. So from what we're looking at, 17 millimeters on the thread, and then it'll update to the overall depth. And like I said previously, I consider those a min if I have plenty of material. That's a minimum depth. I can put in a little bit more if I need it. All right, so if I position the first one, I could go ahead and do the same thing in the sketch pattern. We can utilize our feature pattern by doing a sketch-driven pattern. And so we want the features and faces to be the M8 by 1.25 and the whole location to be the pattern. So everywhere there's a point, and including the center that really isn't there. So that's the one we have to watch for. So intended hole does not intersect the model. Let's see, is there a remove? Sometimes, maybe not on the sketch-driven pattern. When we're doing a standard pattern, it will allow you to remove. So choices to window pick and delete. And even if I lose that sketch, That must have been the dimension. We'll see if that got it. Let it rebuild. See if I can select Control Select. Go back into the sketch-driven pattern. That all looks good. And didn't really see, I may not have checked the preview. So that completes what I need for the first body. So if I single click and single click again, we can call this the base chamber. And by renaming these, I'm setting this up for later to produce my assembly and produce my my individual parts. Alright, so front plane again for a sketch. Do the S key in a rectangle this time, and I'll just go corner to corner. And if we hit OK, S key again, sketch 8 is still selected, so I should be able to pick the down arrow next to the extrude, go into the revolve. The axis of revolution picks the line again, so we have that. We go to the S key in the hole wizard. So I'm using the S key an awful lot. Maybe I'm starting to adapt. We'll go into the simple hole. I want to go to a drill size. And we'll scroll down to the item 10. All right, so a 10mm hole, and then go to its positions, and then I can always just go in and select, and it will snap to those points, and I can put in all 8 holes individually referenced back to that sketch. So that will work for the gasket. And then notice that it's picking up the last feature that was used to create it, to create that body. So call that the gasket. Then we'll go back and hide the body. And then one more time in the front plane, and open up the sketch. Let's see, we'll go right click and sketch entities. And if I were to just do the line and go point to point, the advantage is having already generated that scaffolding, we have a lot of the sketch work already done. And then features revolve, axis of revolution, I'll go back to the line. And I lost my mouse, there we go. Pick that, we have the same through holes, so that last 10mm should still be there. So since that's in place, I do want to make that up to next. And I didn't pay attention if it did that in the gasket with the blind end condition 20.75. One of the downsides is that the drawing will pick up that 20.75. Alright, so if I were to use, I want to check this one more time. If I was to go back to the linear sketch and the circular sketch pattern, it's, well, let's go ahead and put in the number. We'll get the 8 entities to pattern. And let's see in the preview. So let's go ahead and accept it. We've got our points. And this time we'll just drag it back to one of the existing. And I don't see a preview at the center, so it either didn't pick it up, or based on the feature, it didn't find it. So it is one of those, you just got to be aware of it and check on it. And if you get over to the drawing and instead of an instance count of 8, you end up with 9, then that means that it picked up something at the center point. All right, so back to our thread. We'll scroll down to the M24x3. Let's double check real quick. And it's up to next. Go into the positions, place it, and hit OK. Now, let's see, that should have been, now let's go ahead and name it. So this is my cover plate. So let's see, we want to hide that cover plate and then show the gasket. And then that should be the holes for the gasket. And one of the things, we'll go ahead and try it on this one because it's pretty straightforward, is try not to suppress. And we'll see if that is still the case. All right, so the gasket in previous versions, this would revert to the naming, and it may still do it. So no. All right, well, just be aware that in previous versions that when you suppress, my preference is still to do the rollback because it would rename those back to the previous. And then the other thing to watch out for is through all and up to next, where we have the feature scope. It hasn't shown up as an issue yet, but the feature scope should just be the gasket. If the base chamber was still unhidden, it could potentially auto-select and go through those as well. All right, so there's our part. We've got our names. We can show and show. And then if I wanted to, we can go in and group these up into folders. And basically under the folder, we'll just abbreviate the chamber base, and then add a new folder, the gasket, and lastly add a new folder, the cover plate. All right, so to clean this up, then we'll go into the right click on the layout and hide, the right click on the whole location and hide. All right, so one of the handy things about the multi-body is this being a part, I'm going to have maybe the functionality, the view, but I really don't care about separating these out. If this is a manufacturing, I would lean more towards bottom up or to the top down. If this is a purchase component that I'm just wanting to illustrate accurately, then this will be fine to put into assemblies and be able to show the functionality of the part. So let's get into, and I did not make an assignment 9 yet. So fundamentally, the process is the same but different. So I usually with this am going to give this kind of the same that I would in assembly, but as a master model. I don't want to confuse it for a millimeter or multi-body. So if this is my multi-body part, it carries that information with it, and when we go over to the assembly, we're going to extract this out and have it generate the rest.